First, we follow the classic rules of scansion to suggest where stress in a line of verse is meant to go.
Broadly speaking, this means Shakespearean verse is more iambic than is generally understood. That is to say, the stress falls more often than we imagine on the even-numbered syllables.
This approach is particularly useful for discerning placement of stress in heavily monosyllabic lines, with sometimes unexpected results.
Thou barst us our prayers to the gods, which is a comfort that all but we enjoy. For how can we, alas, how can we for our country pray?
Second, we illustrate aspects of Elizabethan verse technique that we would not necessarily do in a contemporary performance. For instance,
in a nod to original pronunciation, we pronounce war to rhyme with jar, mar, and scar. War. Also, warwick, warlike, and war-worn.
Shakespeare heard something different from us today, and we need to remain alert to this, or we miss the performance clues of telling rhymes and clever puns. Like or find fault, do as your pleasures are. Now good or bad, 'tis but the chance of war.
Third, we expand and contract lines when metrical scansion formally requires it.
Examples of expansion. Verbs.
That ever livid in the tide of times.
Words at the end of the line when the line is metrically short.
Condition, ambition, impatience, lamentation.
Other examples.
Ocean, mariage, musician, sanctuary.
Names.
Woodville, Henry, Voren, Salisbury.
Examples of contraction known as elision.
Natural, desperate, murderous, glorious, watery.
Romeo, virtuous, lascivious, lovely, appropriate.
Lastly, when the meter requires, you will hear reverse stress.
Cannot.
Cannot.
Allies.
Allies.
Royal.
Royale.
Record.
Record.
Aspect.
Aspect.
Excuse.
Excuse.
Congealed.
Congealed.
Curtailed.
Curtailed.
Accessory.
Accessory.
Adversary.
Adversary.
Except in passing, one thing we don't try and replicate is how
Elizabethan players spoke their lines much faster by skidding across consonants.
before 1600, the midpoint of Shakespeare's career, the following were not sounded.
H at the beginning of words.
Most consonants at the end of words, especially T and D.
The G in ing.
Hence, in Richard III, Lady Anne might have said something like,
If thou delight to view thy heinous deeds.
which today would be, if thou delightst to view thy heinous deeds.